Welcome to the Starfish Diaries. I am your host, Liz McKean, and you might have found me from another podcast or from yoga or through coaching or maybe a recovery event, but all that matters is that you're here now, and I am so glad that you're here. On this show, we're going to be talking about identity and self-trust and recovering from all sorts of things, including shame and burnout and squeezing ourselves into what we think good looks like. And I'm going to use a lot of metaphors because that's how I make sense of the world. And I'm hoping that helps you too. I'm really just here to remind you and honestly remind us that there is no such thing as doing life wrong and that you do get to make your life into a place that you want to be. And we're going to figure it out together. So let's go. Hello, welcome back. So glad to have you here. So glad to be here. We're going to take some deep breaths and then we got stuff to talk about today, and I'm excited about it. So without further ado, give yourself a little moment to, maybe just let your head rock side to side and unclench your jaw and drop your shoulders. And I invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose and just a big sigh out of your mouth. Yeah, let's do that again. Big breath in through your nose. Longer exhale. Exhaling for twice as long as that inhale if you can. And last one we're going to hold. Biggest breath you've taken all day. Fill her up. Maybe stay full. Hold it a little longer. Notice if your shoulders are up by your ears. Drop your shoulders. Keep that breath in just for another beat. Then open your mouth and let it go. Hell yeah. Welcome to your oxygenated podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you today because I have a thing that has been on my mind that I've wanted to say out loud. And stay with me. This is going to start with the sitcom Friends reference. And even if you're not a Friends fan, I promise it'll make sense as we get going. So I was thinking about Chandler. And when Chandler and Monica were first dating, and Chandler was, his entire character was, commitment phobic. His parents had a terrible marriage, so he was always really freaked out about committing, even though he wanted love and everything, and he loved Monica very much. They were early in their relationship, and he did something screwed up. She was mad at him. And he was like, okay, so tell me what to do to fix it and I'll fix it. That's how we do this. And she said, I'm tired of being your relationship coach here. Just figure this out on your own. I don't want to be around you right now. And so he was like, all right, I'm going to find a big gesture I can do to fix it because that's the thing I'm supposed to do. I think his friends told him to do that. And so in front of everyone, he got down on one knee and proposed to her. He was like, Monica, will you marry me? And she was just like, what? No, like what? That wasn't ever the point. Everyone that was there in the room was like, I can't look away, but it's so terrible. And she was like, why? Just for a second, think about how ridiculous this is. Like, why are you asking me to marry you? Why do you want to get married? And he was like, 'cause I'm sorry. She was like, do you think that that's a good reason to get married? And because it's Chandler and he's a jokester, he was, oh my gosh, how old do I just sound? I just said jokester. He said, well, no, the best reason to get married is because somebody's pregnant. And then, laugh track or whatever. But she was like, no. And also, clearly you're not ready. You still need a little coaching in this relationship scenario. So this is how we're going to get through this and fix it. And, the funny thing is that they do wind up getting married. A couple seasons later, they were in love. Even in that moment when he said, will you marry me? And absolutely did not want to marry her at that moment because he just wasn't ready. He did love her. And they were going to end up together, and I think they both kind of knew that. So the action, the promise, the ask, all those things, it wasn't that was bad or wrong. It was just like the motivation behind it, the story behind it was not the right story. And what if they had gotten married? What if she had said yes? They wouldn't have been very happy, because in his mind, he was offering to get married because he was sorry. This was his penance. This was the thing he had to do that was going to be painful for him. It was going to feel like a prison for him. So it would have, because that was what he was agreeing within his own mind to do. And like, that's what a terrible thing to do, to yourself, to another person, etc. And so it made me think, or I think I thought this first, and that became my example, about the things that we promise to ourselves and to others in those moments where we're sorry, or where we've hit some sort of a rock bottom, and how so often the thing that we're promising, or the thing that we're wanting to do, it's not that it's the wrong thing. It's not that it's a bad action or a bad promise. It's just that it's not going to work when the reason for it, the motivation for it, the story behind it is still fucked, And, my own history with addiction to alcohol and and recovery and all those things, and just years and years of trying to figure all that out, that I'm just so grateful to have experienced because of the life that it has led me to now, gives me just example after example of that. I think about the amount of times that I promised, swore to myself, to my husband, to my family, to, whatever friend I had horrified that day, that I would never do this again. I was never going to do this again. I was never going to drink again. I was never going to, make these choices again. And in that moment, I meant it, because I was so sorry. And because the pain of the shame and the guilt that I felt for the consequences of the drinking was so horrific that it felt good to make that promise. It felt like, okay, I fixed it because I will promise this, and I mean it with every single cell. Like, there was no part of me that wasn't serious when I would say, I will never do this again. And which makes it all the more confusing for those same people who I love dearly when I would do it again. Because just like proposing marriage because you're sorry doesn't work out, promising to stop, substance because you're sorry typically doesn't work out. Because in my mind, like Chandler, I was like, okay, all I want is for you to forgive me. All I want is for you to love me again. All I want is to feel safe and like I'm not this person that I continue to demonstrate that I apparently am. And the pain of that is less than the pain of giving up this thing. But giving up this thing is a prison. Like the way he felt about marriage is how I still very much believed a life for me without alcohol was no life. It was like, he might as well throw me out in the snow on these negative 20-degree wind chill days with no, shoes and no coat. And I'll be like, I'll be okay because I'm sorry. No, I won't. I could promise all I want. I could really want it to be true, but I have nothing to protect me. And during those times, in those moments, like another pain, like the pain of that moment, of that horror and shame and consequence would be big, the biggest thing. But without a doubt, without fail, another thing would come up that was painful. My anxiety or fear or discomfort or fucking withdrawal, and I didn't have anything else to reach for. Being sorry wasn't going to make me feel better in that moment where I was now alone with the pain of humaning without my metaphorical coat and shoes on. And so, of course, I'm going to reach for the bottle again in those moments. And I look back on that person that I was then, who still, lives in me, because we are all of our parts, all of our versions. And I just have compassion for her, I also have gratitude for her, because that part of me was just doing her very best to take such good care of me. I was taking the best care of myself that I could, because I didn't have any other tools to be okay. And I think that's hard to understand when it comes to substance use. And this is not going to be a podcast just about substance use. This is just the biggest example that I have, but I'm going to give some others. But I think that can be hard to understand if you haven't experienced it specifically with substances, and definitely if you are a person who loves someone who is in that cycle, because from the outside, and I say that knowing, like, having been a person on the other side of it too, which honestly, in a lot of ways, I think is worse. It is like, just fucking stop, and then you'll be fine. Of course you'll be fine. I'm not doing that, and I'm fine. I don't get it. But they can't see that I'm in the snow with no shoes and no coat. Also, that vision right now is breaking my heart, because I know that's a true thing that happens for people, and I'm looking at a snowbank as we speak. So I need to find a different visual so I don't start crying. Anyways. But in that moment, it was truly the truth that I was telling. Of course I won't do this again, because I'm so sorry. It's true. But there was no salve to replace the salve that alcohol was for me. There was no story or knowing or confidence in the fact that I could survive without this. And so when the pain would come again, which it inevitably would, sorry wasn't enough. Chandler's sorry wouldn't have made for a happy marriage. Probably wouldn't have even gotten to the altar, And I just think about the amount of times that we do that, even if you're not on a sitcom as a person afraid of commitment, or someone who is using a substance to cope with life, and happen to become dependent on it. I think about the times that we are tired during the day and we're like, oh my God, I'm never doing this again. I'm never going to stay up late scrolling or watching a movie. I'm never doing that to myself again. I'm going to 8 hours of sleep. How many New Year's resolutions are based on, my clothes feel uncomfortable. They don't fit me the way I want them to. I am going to start eating better. I promise myself. Like, you mean it when you say those things. You mean it. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, that is a part of you that is incredibly protective, because it's actually, that is in itself a thing that makes you feel better in that moment, to be like, I fixed it. My plan has fixed it. I don't know about you, but I will say I am never going to, eat this pizza. Sometimes pizza really upsets my stomach. And so I'll eat it. I'm full. And I'll be like, I'm never going to do this again because it hurts my stomach and I don't want to feel this way. So I'm never going to do that. But I will be hungry again and I will smell pizza. And that moment has passed. So until I have changed the story or changed what that motivating factor is, I'm not going to have the kind of resolve that I have in that moment, whether that is a rock bottom when it comes to, using a substance that has created some chaos in your life, or, created some havoc in your relationship, or, just giving you a stomach ache. Because the thing that leads to that behavior or that next step is still in there. We haven't addressed that. I think of this even in automatic processes that happen in our minds. I'm a person who has dealt with panic attacks, and I could say all I want. I am never going to have a panic attack again, But even in if there's something that makes you very nervous, very scared, maybe getting on an airplane or speaking in front of people, you can say I am going to conjure up my confidence and I will not feel this way anymore. I'm not going to be shaky. I'm not going to lose my breath. I'm not going to freeze. I'm not going to, because it's silly, because it's ridiculous. And I don't like how I feel when that happens. So I'm not going to let that happen. But the truth is, there is a very, again, protective thing in you that is when this is happening, it is a threat. And the automatic next step even internally, is to like dose you with like cortisol, with adrenaline, with and you're sweating and you're shaking and your mind goes blank and your mouth goes dry. And man, isn't it funny how like we sweat but our mouth goes dry? It's like the liquid goes to all the wrong places. Anyways, you ever smile and have your lip get stuck right over your teeth, and then it's like it's just the funniest look ever, and it's not really funny in the moment, but I'm looking at myself in a camera right now, so that made me laugh internally. Anyways, that's still going to happen. The trigger's going to happen. Your body's going to do the thing your body does, and then again, like in those cases of reach for the bottle or whatever, that is just like the landslide has already begun. So until we find like the thing under the thing, like the story, and understand it, like what is it that grabbing that bottle is doing for me? Because I either need to change the story in that I'm using the word story, but I know there's a million other terms that you could be using. So if that doesn't work for you, substitute whatever does. But I need to decide, like, is there something else in its place? Like, is there another thing I can do in these moments that will make me feel better? Because the truth is, I'm just a person that sometimes feels very panicky or has anxiety, or like I'm very sensitive to things. Honestly, what a beautiful thing to be. But right now, my brain, my body says, I am sensitive to something. I'm scared of this big feeling. This is the solution. Bing, bang, boom, go, go, go. ABC. So like, do I need to adjust? Like, is that sensitivity something that I can work with and, keep the part of me that is so beautiful and tender, but adjust what I have a big reaction to? Or do I need to have something else I can reach for in those moments? Maybe I need to jump up and down. Maybe I need to call a friend. Maybe I need to journal. I mean, like, I gotta tell you, if you give me the option between a mind-altering substance and a journal, it's probably not going to immediately work as a substitution. That could be like later down the line. And I'm not trying to go into every single aspect of, recovery, et cetera. But what I think is the piece that I am really excited about when I think about the work that I'm doing right now, which is hypnosis, which is work with like our subconscious / unconscious, depending on who you talk to. Those are sometimes interchangeable. But like, again, the thing under the thing, the part of you that is making those, that is starting that sequence of events beyond your awareness in your conscious mind. So before I've even made the choice to reach for the bottle, there's something in me that has already made that decision. And that's really, really hard to change when that's happened. The part of me that has decided I'm never going to have pizza again because it hurts my stomach. Like, that's already been overridden by the time that I'm like really hungry and that's what's in front of me and it smells really good. And there's a million other examples of this. But what I think is really beautiful about work that we do with our subconscious, which is, in my opinion, really powerful. In my opinion, hypnosis is a really powerful way to do that, kind of like fast track. But, I didn't use that years and years ago. I found yoga, and I don't even know that's what I was doing, but I was doing this movement that was hypnotic. And then I was winding up in this shavasana where I would lie on a mat and feel exhausted, like all that energy had been used to not fall down for an hour. And then, I had a teacher playing lovely music and telling me I was wonderful. And all my defenses were down. So it got in there. It got into my subconscious to the point that I was able to like massage that. And that's where the work started for me. That's where the change started for me. It wasn't in those moments that I made a promise. I wish it had been. I wish it had been. Especially for, the people that I love. I can just absolutely imagine the pain and confusion that those moments would have caused. And I am sorry. I'm still sorry. That doesn't mean I haven't, forgiven and sent love to all these versions of myself in a million ways and a million moments. And also, I'm still so sorry that happened. And then that hurt people that I love dearly, that I would do anything to not have hurt. But that anything is continuing to be a healthy person and also help others in that sense. So hypnosis is really great because it kind of does that thing that yoga did for me. And there's other ways, there's therapy, there's meditation, there's, CrossFit, running, like there's a million, and sorry, I'm very obviously physical based in my mind right now, but I'm not trying to say this is the only way to make any change happen in your life, but it's a really fucking good one because it just gets right in there into that subconscious in a way that is collaborative, like when I'm doing hypnosis, I'm not like digging around in somebody's subconscious and like inserting spells or something. Like, no, it's like we've decided together what the issue is and what the questions are you want to answer and what the changes that you're hoping to make. And like, so, and then we're doing that exploration together. There's no being in charge of somebody else's mind. It's helping somebody be in charge of their own mind, which is just so damn cool, right? It's just so damn cool. And the thing that gets kind of inserted in there isn't even in the way I'm approaching this anyways, it's not okay, instead of this, do this. Instead of like the alcohol suddenly tastes like whatever garbage, so you can't even handle it. Like if you're a person who has had an addiction to something, you know that the taste of something is not going to be a problem if you're trying to get your hands on it. No, what it is it inserts a pause so that automatic sequence of events that's happening, like, okay, this happened, I had a trigger, I feel this big feeling, I reach for this thing, I know I'm going to feel better, and like before you even reach for it, start to feel better, like before all of that can happen, like rolling downhill at a crazy speed, it's like a trigger happens and you can notice it. Like maybe it's just a tiny little pause so that you get to decide. So you have a choice. So all these subconscious automatic processes that are like just forcing a sequence to happen, no matter how sorry you are, you have a pause and you can decide. And it's not up to anybody but you and me, what I do next is up to me. Like if I have that moment with the pizza, and please know that I'm not ashamed. I love pizza and I plan to eat it again. This is just feels like a relatable way to talk about this. But if I have that moment, I'm not saying that I'm, this is going to make it so that I never eat this. I can decide that if I want to, but I have the choice. I have a moment to choose. I'm not going to have that feeling of like, wait, what just happened? How did I just do that again? Like, oh my God, it's like a part of me turned off. We're all in hypnosis 100 times a day. Like think about when you've just driven somewhere and you get to your destination and you're like, I don't even remember that drive. Something else took over. Like that is a very normal thing that your brain does. We have incredibly efficient brains. But to have some agency over that is critical when it comes to changing those automatic processes that are causing you harm. And if you decide you want to do that, there are tools to do that. And I just think that's fantastic. I think it's cool. And I also think step one, no matter what you take out of this episode as far as like a next step, if you wanted to do something, you're welcome to reach out to me and I would love to work with you. But I think step one, and if there's nothing else that you take from this, let go of the shame. Because just like when Chandler proposed because he was sorry, that didn't make him a bad person or even a stupid person. He was just really sorry and he wanted to do whatever he needed to do to fix it. When I promised to stop drinking and I didn't, I forgive me for that because I wasn't lying. I told a lot of lies in those days for sure. But even then, that's just a whole different conversation we can have. But I meant it. And so if you find yourself making those, we'll just call them rock bottom promises, and you just are so disappointed in yourself, mad at yourself, maybe bigger words than that, judging yourself, feeling so much shame about the fact that you keep breaking those promises to yourself. It's not because something's wrong with you. It's just because there's automatic things, automatic processes, things under the things that are there meaning to be so self-protective. It's not the wrong thing. It's just the wrong layer that you're working with. So anyways, if you're a Friends fan, I see you. How you doing? That was an energetic conversation because I'm all better now and I can breathe out of my nose, and we are going to use that nose breathing to take some deep breaths. And as always, if you can't breathe out of your nose because you're sick or have a deviated septum or any other reason, always okay to breathe your own way. Either way, let's take some breaths together. So give yourself a moment to just get comfortable if you can, even if it's just letting those shoulders drop. Tongue can drop from the roof of your mouth. Sometimes that in itself is really lovely. And when you're ready, take a deep breath in through your nose. Out with a sigh. Let something go. Yeah, let's do that again. Big breath in. Can you make this a longer exhale? A luxurious exhale. Last one. We'll hold it at the top. When you get there, big breath in. And hold it. Feel that fullness. Everything expands, full of all the good that is you. My gosh, so much good. Just one more moment. Maybe a smile while you're holding it. And let it out, exhale. Whole room is filled with it. All that good stuff. I adore you. I'm so glad that you're here. Thanks for sticking with me. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already. Send this to a friend if you feel so inclined. I mean, it's Friends episode, so you got it, right? And I'll catch you next time. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Starfish Diaries. I want to take a quick moment to thank some of the people who have made this possible. The artwork that I am so in love with is by my friend and the most talented artist, Mo Houston, and you can find her and her work and work with her by going to Joy Scout Studios. I will have that linked in the show notes. And thank you to my incredible editor, Sean Gritters. If you are looking for production support with your podcast, highly recommend that you check him out. His information will also be in the description.